What if you could build an unshakable core, a fortress within yourself that stands strong against the storms of fate? We spend so much time worrying about what we might lose, our comfort, our security, our peace. But true strength isn't found in avoiding hardship, but in facing it on our own terms. It's about learning to fear less, to prepare more, and to discover the profound freedom that comes from realizing you need far less than you imagine to not only survive, but to thrive. As Seneca wrote, "For if you are frightened of everything that could happen, there is no point in living, and your miseries will have no end." In the midst of what would be called the Great Depression, the new U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt was sworn in and delivered his first inaugural address. He was the last president to take office before the ratification of the 20th Amendment, and the last to have to wait until March to begin his term, which meant the country had endured several months without steady leadership. Panic was in the air, banks were collapsing, and people were terrified. You have probably heard the phrase, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," comes from that famous speech. However, the full passage is worth reading, as it touches upon many of the difficulties we can face in life. So, first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. The Stoics knew that fear is to be feared because of the damage it creates. What we are afraid of pales in comparison to the harm we inflict upon ourselves and others while trying to avoid it. An economic depression is bad, but panic is worse. Terror will not help in a difficult situation. It will only make things worse. That is why, if we want to change our circumstances, we must resist and reject fear. "I am so fond of testing the firmness of your soul," Seneca wrote, "that, on the advice of great men, I am advising you as well, for a few days at a time, to be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress. And then you will say to yourself, 'Is this what I was afraid of?'" He continued, "In the midst of complete serenity, let the soul prepare itself for hardships, and in the midst of fortune's favors, let it gather strength against her wrongs. A soldier in peacetime goes on maneuvers, builds ramparts even when there is no enemy, and exhausts himself with unnecessary labor so that he will have enough strength for what is necessary. What if, for one day a month, you exposed yourself to poverty, hunger, total isolation, or any other circumstance you might fear? After the initial shock, you would feel better and no longer be so terrified of it. There are many misfortunes you are allowed to try, many problems you can resolve in advance. Imagine your hot water is turned off, or your wallet is stolen. Imagine you don't have a soft mattress and have to sleep on the floor, or that your car is repossessed for debt and you have to walk everywhere. Imagine losing your job and having to look for a new one. And don't just think about these things, live them. Do it now while things are good. As Seneca reminds us, if you do not want a warrior to tremble in battle, train him before the battle. Let us therefore learn to dine without a crowd, to be attended by fewer slaves, to acquire clothes for their intended purpose, and to live more modestly, wrote Seneca. The writer Stefan Zweig, known for his Stoic wisdom, was once one of the most popular authors in the world. However, his life was destroyed by the rise of Hitler. This is the sad but timeless rhythm of history. Politicians are driven from office for a viewpoint we later consider brave. Countless hard-working families have their money stolen by financial fraudsters. Someone is accused of a crime and is only acquitted years later. At any moment, we can be cast down from the top and forced to operate with less, less cash, less recognition, less opportunity, less resources. And then there are the less that come with age, less mobility, less income, less freedom. However, we can prepare for this in a way by becoming familiar with how it feels. One way to protect ourselves from the fluctuations of fate and potential emotional vertigo is to live within our means now. Today, we can try to live and survive with less, so that when we truly have less of everything, it won't be so frightening. To stay grounded or to fall. Nothing is more unbecoming than pride, said Zeno, especially in young people. A similar warning is found in the letter from Isocrates to Demonicus, which would later inspire Shakespeare to give Polonius the monologue beginning, "To thine own self be true." In it, Isocrates advises the young man, "With those who associate with you, be courteous, not arrogant. For even slaves can hardly bear the haughtiness of those who are full of contempt." One of the most common plots in art, from ancient literature to modern popular films, is the conflict of the brash and self-assured youth with the experienced sage who must put the young person in their place. It is a cliché because it reflects a harsh reality of life. People try to get ahead of themselves. They believe they already know everything and are better than everyone else. They find it unpleasant to accept that someone else might have knowledge to share with them. But this can be avoided. If a bubble is not artificially inflated, it will not pop. Excessive confidence is a great weakness and a liability. If you already have humility, then no one will need to humble you, and the world will have far fewer unpleasant surprises in store for you. If you stay on the ground, no one can knock you down, which is often a crushing experience.